Hello, Margarita here. Welcome to the Rise Up with Margarita show. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Margarita Alcantara, and I help the New Earth leaders activate their light and empowerment in the planet and build their epic businesses through power activation work and mentorship. So welcome to the Rise Up show. I do this every Monday at 2 p.m. and I'm very excited to have you here. Every week we delve into a different topic that will help you rise up from Lightworker into New Earth Leader. And so also, before I even begin, I just wanted to give a shout out to all of those who were there at the masterclass this past Thursday. It was a really powerful masterclass. And even though I didn't do an activation, I usually do activations in my master classes, but I did do one on Thursday. And so I hope that, I know I can see some of these faces here who were there. Hi there, Haley and Naima and Inner Light Tarot. And hi, Inner Light Tarot from India. Good to see you here. And other folks are popping in as well. And so if you were there at the masterclass, it was called How to Be Visible as an Empowered Lightworker Masterclass. And it was a very activating masterclass, even though I didn't perform an activation in it. People could actually feel it and sense it. And I mean, they were already like feeling that vibe rise. And what was really interesting was I knew this would be helpful. So this is why I did it. I actually showed a video, like a 1-minute clip of that first Instagram live that I'm always talking about here in my lives, where I had come out as a starseed. And not only that, but I talked about my bigger work and, being this power activator on the DNA level for, others and, basically my bigger work. And so it was really, really a powerful thing to share. And I even also shared my very first Instagram post, which was like, to me, it was really sad, but everyone's got to start somewhere, and that was really a powerful thing to share with the participants and those who showed up, because a lot of light workers, they see me, and this is also very much connected to today's topic, and I'll share why in a moment. But it was very interesting because some people view me as, I just popped out of the womb feeling super confident and acting like a leader and, yada, yada. And the reality is that took a lot of making the aligned decisions and taking action and showing up on a consistent basis. And that, what you see now, is a result of, all the confidence you see in me, the leadership you see in me, on all of the stuff that you see in me, right, is a result of me stepping up over and over and over again, just taking consistent action, because light workers be all like, love and light, y'all, and then, they only do things when they feel good. But part of being a powerful light worker is actually taking the aligned action even when it doesn't feel good, and being so committed to that nothing gets in the way of that, right? And so, speaking of which, today's topic for the Rise Up show is how perfectionism is blocking you from your Lightworker power. And so this is a very important topic, and it might be a little sensitive for some of you, especially the women who are checking this out, right? Because the reality is that when you are in perfectionism, you are actually not showing up in your power as a light worker. And I'll share why, how perfectionism shows up, number one, because some people might be like, well, I think I am, but I'm not totally sure. So I'm going to share with you how that shows up. I'll also share what perfectionism actually means and how perfectionism is blocking you from your light worker power. And then, of course, I'm not going to just, throw you out there afterwards. I'm going to share some steps that you can take right now to transcend, so that you can make your light worker impact that you're meant and deserve to have. So I'm going to also answer questions that are connected to the topic at the end, closer to the end of the broadcast. So just letting you know that. So I won't really be answering any questions in the meantime. So firstly, how perfectionism shows up. So some of you already know what that looks like, feels like. Maybe you're doing some of that. And this is really important to notice because you can't really shift anything if you're not even aware that you're doing this thing that is blocking you from your power, right? So it's really important to start creating some awareness around what are you choosing every single day, maybe even every single moment. What are you choosing to believe about yourself? What are you choosing to believe about what you're capable of and what you can do in the world, right? Because the empowered light worker will see everything as an opportunity, will see possibility in everything. The disempowered or invisible light worker will still believe their limitations. They will still say, oh, I can't have everything I want, right? Like I need to choose. I'm not powerful enough to make this goal, to reach this goal, to invest in myself, to be capable enough to manifest my vision, right? They're going to come up with all kinds of things that will reflect their decision of either lack of commitment or to their commitment. And the reality is that you're always choosing something. And so even if it's something that gives you results that you're not happy with, you're still choosing that, right? So I just want to kind of bring that up to you that everything is a choice and you get to believe or not believe anything about what you're currently experiencing. Hi, Linda. Good to see you here. She's on Facebook. And I think some folks were just popping in here as well. Modern Mystic, hello from Chicago. Good to see you here. Yeah, and one amazing thing about that masterclass on Thursday, it was like freaking global. If you want to ever experience like a global event of a gathering of light workers, that was awesome, right? People were coming in from Turkey, from Greece, the Netherlands, Canada, New Jersey, like all over. It was really amazing. So here's how perfectionism can show up. So perfectionism can show up like everything needing to be exactly how it's all laid out, like you're in the super linear process, like, okay, I do this, check. I do that, check. Like, and you just go down the line and you check all the boxes and you're like, okay, now it's done, right? But sometimes you can't check every single box and then you like go into a meltdown, right? But in if you are in the openness of what you get to create, you and you're really connected with your energy, you'll realize that it's not a linear process, right? Like invisible light workers are stuck in their head around how things need to look like, around, I can't do this unless this happens, right? They're just like, I'm making it happen. I'm choosing to make it happen today, right? And that's it. So very, very interesting how that kind of plays out. And and this was one of those things that popped up because over the weekend I put out some questions in my IG story again, and just was really asking, how does perfectionism show up for you when it comes to being a light worker? And so a lot of the things I'm about to share with you is a reflection of some of your answers, but also just based on what I already know. So this whole thing of needing everything to be exactly laid out in this super linear process, and everything needs to be very specific and everything needs to be done, right? Then that's how that can show up, because then you're not leaving any room for the magic to happen. Because if you've got a goal, awesome, have your goal, be committed to your goal, but then the how, like if like, oh, it doesn't look like this, no, I don't want it, right? Oh, it doesn't look exactly like my plan, no, I don't want it, right? But when you do things like that, then you're actually like saying no to all the possibilities of how things could look in a bigger way, right? Because you can only uh, know so much as what you've known from your own experience. And so if you really want to go into the next level of your power, it's going to take trusting like what you've never trusted before, because that's what it's going to take in order for you to kind of ascend into that next level, right? So another way perfectionism shows up is being stuck in your head about how things show up and how they're supposed to look like, which I mentioned before. Also, waiting until things settle down in your personal life or in the world. So I'm hearing that from a lot of light workers of, oh, I'll get to the being in my power as a light worker when things settle down. when I feel more comfortable, when I feel more settled, when things settle down in the world. So I'm going to share something with you, right? If that is your approach, you are never going to be in your power as a light worker. And I hate to say it in such a definitive way. And there are a lot of things I do not say for sure that will happen, right? But that is one thing I'm sure will happen is the only way you can fail, right? If for those perfectionists out there who are like, I don't want to fail, the only way you can truly fail is to not show up at all. The only way you can truly fail is to not show up at all. And you will guarantee that you will not show up at all if you are too much in the perfectionism of everything. Because number one, nothing is perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect. And you get to decide what you're ready for. You get to decide when you're ready. You don't wait until some hypothetical, like some angels coming down with harps saying, it is time, Margarita, for you to show up in your power. That will not happen. Okay. I mean, maybe that might happen. I'm not going to say that cannot happen for sure. Right. But don't expect it. Right. If that's what you're waiting for, you're going to be waiting for a long ass time. So it will come down to, are you going to choose to be ready? Because no one's ever ready. All the people you've seen who are successful, myself included, if you're, admiring any of the work that I do or resonating with any of the work that I do, I didn't get here because I said, oh, I'm going to wait until I'm ready, right? No, I put my ass out there on the line so many times when I was scared as hell. And I said, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm probably going to look like an idiot. And I might mess up. And then here I am, I'm going out and doing it anyway, right? That's what people who are successful do. They have the courage in themselves enough to take that leap for themselves, whether it is to show up in a bigger way or to invest in themselves at a new level or to do things they've never done before, right? And if you are ready for that next level of who you are, that's what it's going to take. And also, here's the other thing, is that things are not going to be slowing down in the world. Things are not going to be settling down. In order, for all those light workers out there who are passive about what's happening in the world and saying, oh, no, I don't need to do anything. I'll just lay back and wait till, we get saved, right? Like, who do you think saves us? We save ourselves, right? It doesn't come from some white horse, some knight coming in on a white horse. And it's not going to be because of our star family, right? Because this is our job. This is what we get to do. They've already taken care of, certain, I'll just say cohorts and forces of, negativity and evil on the planet that were part of their stuff that they got to clean up. And us as humanity, we get to also clean our shit up, right? And so it starts first with ourselves, always and foremost, and really taking ownership of the fact that we have the power to change the world. So yes, the world has changed, but it's because light workers implement the F out of this experience, right? So this whole thing about waiting until things settle down won't really help, right? Yeah. Ruddy Moore is sharing, this is helping so much. You are doing it right now. This is pure truth, not just sitting to the wayside. Exactly. And Angelic Lighthouse is saying amen. Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad that this is resonating for you. So another thing, the perfectionism shows up. I've had people say, well, I need to lose weight first, then I'll show up, right? Because I don't like feeling like, I'm less than or I'm not the type of person I want to be when I'm showing up. Or you're waiting for your kids to go to school or grow up and go to college, or waiting until you feel physically better, whether it be like you had a bad hair day that day, or maybe your skin isn't as clear, or maybe you're self-conscious about something about yourself. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I had like an amazing zit pop out on my face when I had planned to do some reels. Back in the day when I was batching reels. I don't do that anymore. But that said, I'm like, of course I have a gigantic, zit on my face when I'm about to do all this shooting, right? And that's what makeup is for, folks. Get it done, right? So, because I'm just like, okay, I'm still going to get it done though, So, if you got to use a filter temporarily, I don't use filters on any of my stuff, but if I do, it's either because the lighting was off or something happened there. So I'm just putting that out there, like, you don't need to be this physically perfect person, because also what your perception of perfect is different from another person's perception of perfect. Another reason, another way this perfectionism, it's like a tongue twister, can show up is that you're going to wait for the right tech to do it the right way. And I get that because I like getting things done effectively myself. And sometimes that means I need to know what tools, are more useful. But if you're stuck in oh, I'm not even going to show up until I have all the lights and the filters and the, I don't know, tripods and gadgets and everything, then you miss the point, right? Because you don't need anything more except just your phone and enough lighting so people can see your face. And as I've shared, even on my masterclass, I do have a ring light now, because our apartment actually doesn't get a lot of natural lighting. And also because we live across from a hotel, and so I don't feel like showing all my goodness to all the people across the street from me, right? Because I'm in the middle of New York City. So, so I have a ring light. Yes, I do. And I started off with no ring light. I started off with just my phone. And, for those of you who are at the masterclass, that very first video I shared where I came out as a starseed and all the things, I like really came out in a really big way. I didn't have really the right lighting. And I like, what's that? I put my phone on top of my Kleenex box, and that was my tripod. So you either make a lot of excuses or you figure it out, right? And empowered light workers figure it out. So even if you haven't done certain things before, you get more confident with yourself when you just start doing all the things that you're scared of, because that's how you build your confidence. You prove to yourself that you lived to survive another day after doing that thing you were so petrified about, right? So here's what perfectionism actually means. It means that there's somewhere there where you are not feeling that worthiness in yourself. And maybe there's a lack of self-worth there. Maybe there's this thing of you depending on other people's validation or opinions in order to feel worthy, right? And so if that's the case, then of course you're going to hold back on something that you're not going to be perfect at, right? But how do you think all those people who look so seamless and easy with it now, I get that same thing too. A lot of people look at me and they're just like, oh, well, you make it look easy. It must be easy for you, or you're just lucky. And it's like, no, I practice my ass off. I've been doing this for like 5 years, every week. Okay. So like in terms of alive, every week. And the only times I took off was for vacation, which I recommend that you do often. And give yourself your downtime, because that's what you do when you're an empowered light worker who has a spiritually based business, is that you are scheduling it in a very aligned way. Your schedule is not working around your work. It's your work is working around what you're creating, right? And that's the difference between being an employee and being your own boss. So the second piece of how perfectionism, what's really happening there in terms of the mechanism around perfectionism, is also you're putting off taking responsibility, right? Every single time I have worked with some of my clients who were in high resistance to their power, like for whatever reason, maybe they didn't want to be visible, maybe they have resistance to social media or putting themselves on camera, or charging their level of transformation in their services, and creating aligned offers, or anything where they're having resistance around. I've worked it through with them. And one of the common things that would pop up when we would really go under all the layers and unearthing and unpacking is, well, if I don't do this, and if I just say, things have to be perfect, then I get off the hook, right? I don't need to do what my calling is, because I can just say, well, it's not perfect enough, or I'm not ready, right? So what that really is just not taking ownership of your destiny and really letting yourself off the hook from taking responsibility. So, because it will let you off the hook from actually taking responsibility for your light worker destiny if you're believing that you have to be perfect in order to show up in any way. Another thing that perfectionism really means when you're kind of uncovering it is that when you prioritize being perfect, you're actually missing the point of being in your light worker purpose in the first place. Because, light workers are here to use their high level of light quotient, because not everyone is a light worker. Just because you mean well in the world does not mean you're a light worker. And that was something I had to clarify like early on when I started really talking more about, being a light worker and stepping up as one. A lot of people were like, well, I don't resonate with that. And it's like, well, you're not a light worker, and that's fine. But I'm talking to the light workers who do have that high light quotient, who are here to do a bigger purpose in the world, and they know it. And maybe they're already on that journey. Maybe they're starting to open into it. Maybe they've been on that journey for a while. Either way, I can serve you at those different levels, because there's always a next level to go higher and expand into, right? But when you prioritize being perfect, then you're kind of missing the point. Like if you're really a light worker, that there's this aspect of healing that you provide, right? So you don't approach your clients of like, you need to be perfect, right? Because that's why they're coming to you, because there's something there that they want you to help them close the gap on. And if they're willing to invest in themselves and they feel that they've got that worthiness within themselves, they're going to go forward and make that happen, right? So, as a light worker who's doing the work, that you're not expecting perfection out of your clients, and why should you expect that out of yourself? So just kind of when you are noticing these perfectionistic tendencies show up, really allow yourself to connect more deeply into what that is all about. Because if you just say, oh, well, I just can't do that because I don't want to hear people's judgments of me, or I can't do that because I don't have the tech, or it's too crazy out in the world, or my life is too crazy right now, or I'm not capable of it right now because I got some things going on. It's like, who doesn't have things going on right now, right? Like there's all kinds of things going on in the world. It's not about not having the time. It's about, are you going to allow yourself to be a priority? Are you going to allow yourself to be a priority? And if so, you get to clear out this perfectionism bullshit, because it's just really blocking you from your power. And here are the 3 ways that perfectionism is blocking you from your Lightworker power. Number 1, you're too caught up in the linear experience of everything that you miss the point of connecting to your heart power and your unique and powerful message that your ideal client needs to hear right now. And so this is so important to notice that, when you're in your perfectionism, you are not coming from the heart. You are not even connected to your heart. You're actually connected with your head. You're connected with survival mode, which is scarcity, right? If I do this, or if I don't do this, then I will not be supported. That's the whole belief behind this, right? Is like, if I'm not perfect enough, I will not be supported. So there's obviously a lack of trust in there. And if you've got a lack of trust, and if this is landing for you, give me a heart, or say why for yes in the comments, because this is what is really coming up when you're really in the perfectionism of it all, is that you're not trusting your path. You're not trusting yourself. You're not trusting that you will be supported, and more specifically, that you are not being supported by God, Great Spirit, Universe, however you want to call it. And so I'm shining a light on that right now, because if that's something that is showing up for you, you get to see it for what it is, and you get to make a different choice if that's what you want to do. If you really want results, if you really want to experience, and thank you for all the hearts and the whys for the yeses. I'm appreciating that. So there you go, right? A lot of people are resonating with this, is that there's this piece of not trusting yourself. And Reversi is also saying, yes, true, right? So when you're not trusting yourself, it goes a lot deeper, and it shows up in all kinds of different ways as self-sabotaging, and perfectionism is one of those self-sabotaging ways that you can mess up, block your power as a light worker, right? Because when you're really caught up in the linear experience, that's coming from the head, and that's coming from, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be supported, and if I don't get supported, then I will not survive. So that's the whole mechanism under this whole perfectionism thing. And that's the whole attempt of going at it from a linear mind, stuck in the mind perspective, thinking that worrying about it is going to help and, create change. No, I think it's been said, I've heard someone say it as, worrying is like praying for the things you don't want. And that's the truth. That is the truth, right? That's not you being connected to yourself when you're thinking things through or needing things to be logical or needing to be rational. You're just stuck in your head and stuck in perfectionism because you don't trust. So that has nothing to do with your heart. And if you really want to blast through into your Lightworker power, you need to get really trusting with your heart. And you really need to connect with your heart, and you get to trust your heart implicitly. Even though it looks weird, it doesn't make sense, it's not rational. Energy is not rational. So to all the people who are like, no, I need to think about it. It's like, oh, so you don't trust yourself? You don't trust your intuition? You don't trust your heart? I mean, if you do, it comes in like a download like that, and you notice it, you're like, oh, there it is. But if you don't, then you're like, I need to think about it. I need to think about it, which is code for, I don't trust myself. Let me think myself out of the situation. Right? That's really what's going on. So really, when you're in that linear experience of creation, you're just creating more of what you're worried about. So, and that helps no one, especially you. And that certainly doesn't help your clients who are still in the wings and waiting for you because your work is so amazing, but you are still in the perfectionism, and so you're not showing up, right? So that is one way of how this will block you from your Lightworker power, because you simply won't show up in it. And then you won't make your impact in the world because your people will still be waiting in the wings. Number two, it also shows up as being stuck in perfectionism, preventing you from showing up, helping people, and making impact, which is very connected to what I just shared. But if you are too much in your head and you're not connected with your heart and you're feeling like you need to be perfect, then you will not show up. You just simply won't, because if you don't feel like you're ready enough, even though being ready is a decision, then you won't show up in that greater expansive way, which means that your people won't find you. And if they can't find you and you can't find them, then you're not going to help them, right? So that's the tragedy of it all. And number three, it's coming from ego and unhealed worthiness issues rather than service and leadership. So when you're in perfectionism and you're in your head of like, well, this is not perfect enough, it's not okay enough, I don't feel ready, and all this other stuff, then that's all ego. That is all ego. That's not you connected to your heart, and that's not your intuition. A lot of invisible light workers say, oh, well, my guides say, or the universe has given me some intuitive hits, right? That this is not what I should be doing, or just not yet, right? And that is not your intuition, because your intuition, is you connected with your heart and your truth, and it will tell you what is up. It's not going to sugarcoat anything. It's not going to necessarily be in your face. Sometimes it can be if you've ignored it long enough, but it will be very direct. It's going to be to the point, and it's just going to be very matter of fact, and it's going to be neutral, and it's not always going to be what you want to hear. So just because it's something that scares you does not mean that's your guides telling you no, right? It means buck the F up and it's time to take a ride, right? Sometimes that's what that means, but you do get to really connect with who you are and connect with your heart in order to really lead from that reality, right? Because the heart and leading from the heart is a whole different reality than being stuck in the head. Being stuck in the head is old paradigm, 3D, you can only do so much, right? But when you come from the heart, it's like, put on your seatbelts, because you are just going to be blasting off in outer space. And if you're leading your life like that and you're creating your light worker purpose like that, then, that is a really powerful place to be. So those are the 3 ways perfectionism is blocking you from your Lightworker power. And Roversi is saying, you really help me a lot. I'm glad to hear that. And then here are some steps now of how you can transcend it so you can make the Lightworker impact you're meant to make and that you deserve to have. Okay? Because, some Lightworkers, especially if you're still in the beginning of your path, you're going to be like, oh my God, my purpose is so big, I can't possibly be worthy to embody this, right? And it's like, why not? Why not you? Right? I mean, that's there for a reason. It's not because it landed in the wrong person. It's there because you are that person who's going to be able to make it happen if you allow it to happen, right? So here's how you can transcend this perfectionism. Number 1, stop waiting. Just start. Just start. All the things you have been putting off, all the things you've been scared to do, all the, greater expansion, everything that you want to create, investing in yourself at higher levels, doing things that you've never done before, all the things that scare you right now, do them. Just do them, right? And that's really important just to really realize is you will never be ready. You will never be ready. All the people who are successful that you see as successful, they didn't get there because they waited to be ready. They decided that they were going to be ready. I decide that I'm ready. I decided like whenever I'm about to up level and I get nervous about it, I'm like, well, I'm deciding right now that I'm ready. And that is it. No, there's no, my mission is like really too big for me and my ego. It's like, I'm ready, right? So you get to decide that you're ready. You get to stop waiting on your purpose. You get to stop putting your powerful purpose aside because other people have got unresolved issues and they're projecting it onto you, right? You get to decide. You get to call the shots. Just start. So that's number 1 thing I would say. Number 2, be connected with your heart instead of trying to think it through, which is not how energy works. A lot of light workers are all like, I'm magical AF, but then they're like coming from the linear mindset. It's like, you can't really be in the magic of your power if you're needing everything to have evidence. If you need to have evidence before you jump, if you need to have evidence before you leap, if you need to have evidence that it's working, right? No, having a vision means having vision and moving forward on your vision. No matter what. That's why you call yourself a visionary, right? Because you hold the vision no matter what. Because no one else is going to hold that for you. No one is going to be like, okay, Margarita, you can outsource your vision to me and now I can just like take care of it for you. It's like your vision is yours for a reason. You may be able to build your team like I have, and you may have people to help you create that vision into a higher platform, a higher reality. But it's up to you to hold that vision. And that's really important. So the old paradigm way of creation is it needs to be rational, it needs to be logical, it needs to be feasible, it needs to be responsible. I love how a lot of light workers love to say this whole, I need to be responsible, right? It's like, if you're actually not showing up because you're making so many excuses of why you can't show up, that's the irresponsibility, not you actually showing up and maybe fucking up, right? Because it's not even really a mess up or a failure if you don't get the outcome that you wanted. All it is feedback. All it is information that you can choose to do with it what you wish. And you can choose to either like beat yourself up over it, or you can just improve yourself, right? And empowered light workers use the information to improve themselves, to improve their service, to improve showing up in the world. Sources moving through you indeed. Some major downloads right now. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, well, when you're tapped in and you're really tapped in at the heart level, you really are connected to Source, God, Great Spirit, right? And so be connected with your heart. be connected with what energy is really about. Because energy is not A plus B equals C. Energy is not do this and then that and then this and then that in a straight line and get all your ducks in a row, right? It is, energy is diagonal. It is in the past, it's in the future, it's now, it's, up in the sky, it's like in the earth, it's like all over, right? And when you're really a light worker, you're literally working with the light, which is energy, and that's what you're really working with, right? So when you're connected with your heart power, that is literally a technology. When you're really truly connected with your heart, in my clients, I actually activate their heart technology and their heart intelligence so that they can function from that higher place and that higher level of creation, right? And then when you go into mentorship with me, which is more of a long-term experience, then you get the accountability and the support so that you stay on path, right? Because it's fine to get your epiphany one day and be like, yeah, I'm feeling powerful, right? But then if you're not cultivating it and you're not making it a thing in your life and you allow yourself to slip back into old habits, then you're not going to fulfill your mission, right? So those light workers who are really committed to that level of expansion in themselves, they do the work and they hire the coaches, they hire the mentors, and if it's not me that you want to work with, like, hire one that does resonate. But my point is invest in yourself, because if you don't, you're just going to be like trying to figure things out, and take the hard road. Maybe you'll do YouTube and Google some things and maybe you'll get to a certain point, but until you actually invest in hiring a coach or a mentor who's already been where you want to go, who's already achieved the accomplishments you are moving towards, then you are looking at a very long road. And especially right now, in the middle of planetary awakening, you want to make sure that you've got the support that you need. So that was number 2. Instead of thinking it through, be connected with your heart. Number 3, show up messy and imperfect. Show up messy and imperfect. And it's progress over perfection. It's, get it done over perfection, right? Because what you will notice if you approach it more from that way versus I will wait until, I look perfect, my content is perfect, my visuals are perfect, it's highly produced, I now have an editor or whatever, right? You don't need any of that. You just need to be of service and show up. And then from there, you start to get better. You start to get more comfortable about how you sound, about how you show up, or how you prefer to express yourself. You're going to start to have a way that you're going to be like, oh, okay, so this is the part where I blank, right? Like, you'll start to notice things about yourself. And when you start to see that consistency within yourself, you will actually build your confidence. That's how confidence happens. It comes from doing all the things you are scared to do right now. So show up messy and imperfect. Number 4, start simply. Start simply. You don't need like a whole freaking ass production team. You don't need to hire an editor. I mean, I hire an editor now for certain things, certain types of videos, but you don't need that. You don't need that. You just need a phone and to have enough lighting so people can see your face. So as I shared in my masterclass, you could literally just go to your window during daytime and have that soft diffusing light on you, and then, hit record, right? And another way you can do it too is you can have like little test runs. So you can do like an IG story or a Facebook story, those things, they evaporate in like 24 hours. So you can show up and try a little something, and you can either let it run for the whole 24 hours or you can delete it and just be like, okay, I practiced, that's one tip that I'll share with you that I share with my clients, but I share more deeper tips than that, of course, right? But the point being is start simply. You just need a phone and for people to see your face and to show up in service, right? Like, what is the message you are the messenger to bring? Because you have a message. You have a very powerful message for all of humanity. And if you just keep it all bottled and locked up because you're like, well, my hair doesn't look good or something, or like, I don't have lighting, or then go get lighting, right? Go to your window or get a ring light like I did, because I like got the hint later on in the game that, okay, maybe my lighting is not so good, right? So I invested in a ring light. So that's number 4. Start simply. Number 4, right? Number 5, heal your worthiness issues. I'm not going to go into depth about how to do that in this broadcast or episode today, but what I will say is do the healing work. Go inside, look at all the things within yourself, heal your shadows, heal all these aspects that are traumatized within you. And because first of all, it's going to affect this worthiness issue. It will prevent you from showing up in your Lightworker power, which then means you're not going to help your people. You're not going to make the impact that you are here to make. And then also, obviously, you're not going to be abundant as a Lightworker if you're just not even showing up because you're waiting to be perfect, right? So, I mean, as you can see, there's like a whole cascade that happens if you do not heal this worthiness thing. So you get to honor yourself. You get to respect yourself, respect your journey, honor your journey, and be like, you know what? I am worthy. Because there's the truth, right? You can just say to yourself, I am worthy because I exist. I am worthy because I'm a living and breathing human. I'm breathing air in and out of my lungs right now, and therefore I am worthy. Because that's the truth. That is the truth. And so it's really about taking ownership of your worthiness. So do all of the things. The Ho'oponopono, that prayer, has someone sharing, has been so healing for me. Yeah, that's really a powerful thing. That's especially if you haven't forgiven people, including yourself. You definitely want to do that. That's part of the work. But my point being is do the work, right? Do the inner work, all the things that you are avoiding about yourself, do the work to connect with all that. Do the work to heal all of your outdated perceptions, because not only if you do not heal these things, if you do not connect with and heal and love up your shadow aspects of yourself, if you do not heal all of these shadows within yourself and all the traumas within yourself, you are literally actually just having an open doorway for any energy that wants to come in and fuck with you, because that's really what that is. That's what really the whole danger of this thing. It's like, yes, you deserve to be connected with yourself. But when you are attached to your trauma, attached to your pain and your suffering and your worthlessness and all that stuff, you are literally opening up a doorway to negative energies. And I see that happen, unfortunately, with a bunch of light workers, right? So then they don't step up in their power as light workers because they're too attached to their trauma. And that will block you on so many levels if that's the case. So that's number 5, heal your worthiness issues. Number 6, decide to take responsibility for your Lightworker purpose. Just decide. And I saw Reverse's feedback here on Facebook. She's saying, I am ready. Yes, right? That's a decision. It's not, I will be ready. It's, I am ready. Present tense. Done, here, now, claimed. Okay, that's how you do it. So thank you, Reversi, for sharing that and being that example. And Kara's sharing, that's where I'm at, healing the shadows. Yeah, do it. Do it all, right? Do it all. Heal all of it. And the worthiness of love, the Dean Richardson is sharing, absolutely, because here's a little secret. Okay, if you're struggling with your money, there's an issue there around receiving love as well. And hear me out on this. So here's the thing, where like the actual new consciousness of wealth and even about money is really about this consciousness of how everything is intertwined and interwoven and connected, right? So if you are not in your abundance, the first place I would invite you to look at is, where are you not allowing yourself to receive love? Where are you not allowing yourself to receive love? Because that is where you're also not, that's how you're also not allowing yourself to receive your money. Because it's all connected. The old paradigm way is oh, money's not connected to my spirituality. Money's not connected to love. Money's not connected to anything except evil, right? Like all the light workers are saying that, or like if you want to get like super old paradigm about it, it's connected to the capitalist patriarchy, right? Which I shared in my master class. That was something I used to do when I was a punk rocker, which was like, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. And it's like, that's how old it is. So it's not alive anymore, people. So if you're going to keep on saying, I'm going to dismantle the capitalist patriarchy, it is dismantling as we speak. It is dying, crumbling, falling apart as we speak because the new earth is coming online. And if you are a light worker who is taking ownership of your power and your light and your worthiness and your love and your money and your wealth and all of who you are, then you will be one of those new earth leaders, right? Yeah, the Dean Richardson saying, wow. Yeah, that's the whole thing with a new earth is like it's a lot, it's a whole perception shift, it's a whole paradigm quantum level shift, and it requires you to allow yourself to allow the quantum shift to occur and to choose it within yourself, because when you choose it within yourself, then you will see it reflected in the outside world, no matter what is going on in the world, because there's a lot of shit obviously going on in the world, um, and you get to be part of what makes the world great. So, yes, really needed to hear this today. Thank you. You're welcome. Just making sure I'm catching some comments here. So that is all about these things that I wanted to provide this training on today around the perfectionism. If you're just joining us right now, today's topic is how perfectionism is blocking you from your Lightworker power, how perfectionism shows up, what perfectionism actually means, how perfectionism is blocking you from your Lightworker power, and then action steps. There were actually 6 of them, so that you can transcend this perfectionism, so you can really start making your impact in the world that you deserve to have. So let me know if you have any questions about this topic, about perfectionism and being a light worker. Let me know if you have any questions on this. And I have a few minutes to tap into all that. In the meantime, I'm going to drink some water as you guys are typing. Okay. Thank you for the hearts, and I'm so glad this is resonating for you. So let me know, what are your questions about this? Is there something that is kind of like, maybe you're trying to figure it out, maybe there's like a little pinpoint you want to put on this whole thing for yourself. Maybe there's something about perfectionism that you're trying to refine, or something that you're trying to discover. Let me know in the comments about your questions on this topic around being a light worker and perfectionism. Mama Moon Wellness shares, this has been so valuable, grateful for the divine alignment, so grateful you're here. That's awesome you're here, and so glad it's speaking to you. Okay. And this is so funny. I think I get this every single time I'm live. So I just saw this comment. So I've been watching you on live and following you on social. I just finished my chakra healing book and realized that I was the author. Yeah, I get this like all the time. It's so funny that like people have been following me for a while and they're like, oh my God, she wrote that chakra book that I have in my bookshelf, right? And that was so funny because that, like, I noticed that in a big way during the masterclass, because one of my slides, when I was talking about my visibility, I was also talking about my book, and I gave some backstory around, how I had to get my shit together basically in order to write that book, because I only had a 5-week window to write that whole book. But I was like, of course I'm going to do it in 5 weeks, of course, and I'm like, how am I going to do this in 5 weeks? But that's what I'm talking about. Do it before you're ready. Choose to be ready. If I waited to be ready, I wouldn't have even written that book, because I would have been like, no, I need I need to express it in my own timing, right? It's like, no, it's like you're being given an opportunity, figure it out, right? So I figured it out. And so now I have this book that has like, I don't know, 25K 5 stars or something like that. And is published in like so many languages and will be released in a bunch of new languages next year. So that's what happens when you decide that you're ready. And I'm glad that book is serving you. Wonderful, wonderful. Juliet's saying, definitely a timely topic. I know I need this kick in the behind. Yeah, well, glad it could help. Oh, and I love this. Naima sharing. This is exciting in a really fun way. Thank you. Yeah, this is exciting. To be like, oh, I have the power to transform what I'm not liking about my path, and choose something else. And this is how you kind of do it. Of course, I mean, I'm excited whenever I learn something that can up level me. Definitely. Yes. Reiki Remedies is saying it was great. Thank you. Very informative and easy to digest. Jess is saying, I definitely suffer from this in my life before for a long time, which is why it's been stagnant before I learned to work with what I had. LOL. Yeah. Best chakra guidebook ever. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I love that Jess is solidifying these takeaways, right? She's saying, go for it before being ready. Prepare, right? And you prepare by doing your inner work, so that when those opportunities come in, they come in because you prepared, right? So in other words, you don't need to prepare more. You just need to actually do it. And Rudy is saying, we have so many tools today, and our ancestors were writing manuals on papyrus, no room, right? Yeah, exactly. Like if our ancestors can write on like, you know, papyrus and, reed paper and all this stuff, we can figure it out with all of the tools that we've got for us. And also they're sharing, to be a lazy light worker, this is truth. Thank you. Thank you, fam. You're welcome. So Seema's asking how to turn the switch off the perfectionist nature. So I actually gave 6 steps on how to do that. So if you're just either joining us now or you're forgetting the 6 steps we just covered, then make sure you check out the replay because I share with you all those ways that you can start switching off that perfectionist nature. And it all really begins with a decision. Because nothing will change until you decide that this is what you want. Okay. Can't wait to watch the replay. Yes, please do. Okay. This is a good question because I've gotten this from some of my clients who are moms. I'm a single mama with a big mission. It's challenging balancing all of that I want to do for us and share with humanity. Any tips on the sacred juggle? So it begins with creating an aligned schedule around what is important to you, not around your work, around what is important to you. For most people, it's the people they love. It means having more freedom to spend time with them. It means traveling when you want, right? I mean, with me, I can serve anyone from wherever I am on the planet, right? It's no longer depending on whether or not I have my brick and mortar business, right? Because I still do. I still see patients occasionally during the week, but the majority of my work is really power activation work and my coaching and mentorship. So that's really where I serve people. And so I have done it where I've served people when I was, in Mexico. I've served people when, because I live in New York City. I've served people when I've been like in other areas of the US, or the planet. And it doesn't stop me from serving, right? So choose the aligned schedule that is where what it is you want and that's important to you is central. So like part of the perception shift here, because I was indoctrinated into it too growing up, was we are taught, we are schooled to become employees, right? We are primed from a very early age of here's what you do, this is how you do it, this is how you live life from the employee perspective, not from the perspective as a leader, not from the perspective as you're going to have your own business, right? That is what majority of us, I'll not say everyone, the majority of us have been taught. And so when you approach life like that, then you will think, oh, okay, well then if I have my own business, then that means it's all surrounding my work, right? No, opposite. What is more important to you, that's the center of your work. And then, or the center of your schedule, and then your work revolves around that, right? So that is a different way of proposing it. So that's where you first get to start. I hope that helps. Okay. So Mama Moon Wellness says, "Oh yes, bless you, chills. This resonates deeply, and really what I also want to share with women parents in what I'm offering." Fork, yes, absolutely. I love that. That's great. Kara, I'm seeing a question here. Okay. Can doing a 12-step program be doing the inner work? Yes. Yes. If you're truly going through those steps and you're truly being introspective and you're truly looking at your life and really being brutally honest, because this is what we all get to do now, right? If you haven't been doing this over and over and over again, be brutally honest with yourself about your life. Like, be brutally honest. Are you really happy? Are you really happy with how you're showing up as a light worker? If not, why is that? And why are you allowing that to happen? Why are you tolerating that? Right? Get brutally honest. And like the 12-step program can be very brutally honest. So yes, that was the bottom line, is yes. It qualifies as doing the inner work. And I'm realizing I should have put on the AC before I turned on our live today. And so Will is sharing, definitely learning to slow down my mind and center myself more. Awesome, awesome. Grounding and aligning my energy every morning is super helpful. Yes. Thank you for everything you've shown me. You're welcome. And I love this, right? Because Will is saying, I'm grounding and aligning my energy every morning. Like, honestly, that should be a non-negotiable for all light workers. Like, a non-negotiable for all light workers. Touching base with yourself in a very still, mindful way before you start your day. As you've heard me say like probably 10 million times, my meditation during the daytime, when I first get up, it's a non-negotiable. Like, nothing else gets done until I do my meditation and get that all situated, right? Because it's a very powerful way to be intentional about your day. Yeah, spiritual fitness coach says, thank you for that as a single mom and recovering workaholic. Yeah, that's the other piece too. And I should have mentioned that the perfectionism can show up, as being a workaholic, like running yourself into the ground. Because I used to do that just because that was the work ethic I learned, right? Like, my dad worked really hard. I mean, he became a Western doctor. He was an immigrant. He was just like, full blown, we must get this done, right? Like, so he was very much that type of warrior. And so I had adopted that work ethic until I started getting burned out all the time, until I started being like, oh God, I don't know how I'm going to be able to grow as a business owner if this is like, I'm already tired. It's like, how am I going to like expand and go to my next level of abundance and help more people if I'm already this tired? And what I failed to see at that moment, but I see now, is that, you don't have to work yourself to the bone to prove that you're worth it, to prove that you're worthy, to prove that you matter. You don't need to do that, right? That is the old paradigm, and the paradigm is no longer energized. So anywhere where you're still energizing the old paradigm, guaranteed you will be exhausted. Why? Because anything that you're trying to energize is like, well, this used to work, so I'm just going to keep on doing it, right? When if it's part of the old paradigm and the old paradigm is dying and it's an energetic dead end, you are literally putting all your energy into a dead end. And so, of course, you're going to be tired, right? Whereas if you're energizing it into stuff that is, maybe it's a little new, maybe it's a lot new, maybe it's super scary, but you are aligned and that's where you're headed and that's where you're called, and then you step up into that, you will actually feel energized and you will actually feel motivated and you will actually receive all the cosmic backing that you need because you're doing all that scary stuff. So So yeah, I love that. I love that observation. Jess is saying I have to get better on that. I notice the difference in my days. Yeah. You will notice a big difference once you align your schedule with what you want, not with your work. Okay. Jess is sharing, as a mom, I used to burn out and things were not going great. I'm learning to balance around the things that matter to me the most, which is my family and my self-care, and still serve around that. Yes, exactly. And then Will is sharing to that end around the morning check-in, saying totally checking the phone, email, socials before our morning meditation is the quickest way to become scattered. The morning meditation is like a massage. I love that for my mind and energy. I love it. Yes, I love that perception because that's really kind of what it is. You're like, okay, mind and body, we're good. This is what we're going to do today. We're going to be nice and in our flow, and everything's going to move. And, this conversation you're going to have with this important possible client, it's going to go really well. And this is how you're going to have an intention around it. It really is like a massage. It really is like a massage. And Mama Moon Wellness is saying, sharing this replay with my loves, please do. Thank you so much in advance. So yeah, you got some great questions here. Anyone else have any last questions? I can maybe answer one more before we wrap up. But for those of you who are popping in, because I see some new faces in here, today's topic was how perfectionism is blocking you from your Lightworker power. And I shared very in-depth conversations around how that gets to look like. So looks like you guys are all set. You all are all set. And if any of this has been inspirational to you, if any of this is something that you want to go deeper on, if you'd like support on, if you're even curious about what working with me on a deeper level would look like, then DM me and we can have a conversation about, next steps for you. And just keep in mind that I don't do single sessions because my work goes really deep, and it's not something that single sessions will, we can cover in a single session. And also keep in mind, I don't do things like readings or giving you an assessment on your life path. Like if you're really committed and serious about expanding into your power as a light worker and really what that gets to look like on the next level, then we can have a conversation, right? Okay. So someone has a question on something that I touched on earlier today about what a Lightworker is. And so I already talked about that earlier today, so you're going to want to check that out. And to provide even deeper clarity, no, not everyone is a Lightworker. Just because you mean well does not mean you're a Lightworker. It's really someone who has that highlight quotient and works with it consciously to actually create healing in the world on a proactive level. So sometimes that can look like traditionally as a healer, but there are also light workers who are in corporate, who don't maybe actually, who aren't actually doing official quote unquote healing stuff, right? It can look like other ways as well, but not everyone is a light worker, no. So you can kind of look a little bit more deeply into the replay if you'd like to check that out. But in the meantime, thank you for your questions. Thank you for being here and being engaged with your powerful path. It's very important. All right. Much love, light, and power to you and your week ahead.